Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. Do you know what I really love in video games, open world video games specifically, is when you're walking down a town in Japan and you spot a store or a little mini game you can go and do. You walk in and you do it. There's all sorts of things. The Witcher has Gwent, Kingdom Come Deliverance has some weird gambling thing, Assassin's Creed has a bunch of different ones. GTA even has them where you have mini races or arcade machines, something like that. Even games back on the PS2 used to have this. Mini games inside of the game, if done right, are fantastic. It really just adds to it. Look at like GTA 4, the very infamous.
It's Roman. Let's go bowling.
So when the developers of Chess Game Creator reached out and said, hey, do you want to try our new plugin to add chess into your game? I was like, well, I don't really do chess games. And then they dropped the line. It can also be integrated into any existing game. And I was like, oh, okay. So in this tutorial, ladies and gentlemen, sponsored by Chess Game Creator, we are going to take a look at their free chess plugin to add a mini game into your game. We're going to integrate it properly, full AI support, and we're going to have a chess mini game inside our game. Let's get started. So yes, big thank you to Chess Game Creator for reaching out. I did not know this plugin was a thing. It is fantastic so far. I've spent maybe a week playing with it. It's super easy to get going, but it's such a deep path when you learn how to customize it because you just want to do everything. But it's so much fun. So there are a couple of things you need to download first to get it set up and working, which we will do now. Firstly, go grab a copy of your Chess Game Creator. They do have a very, very helpful Discord that they've helped me with any issues I've got. And they've also got a professional version, which I believe, I need to double check this, gives you a bunch of custom boards, pieces, sceneries, loads of other stuff if you don't have it. It can be useful. You also get absolutely dedicated support with it, where the chaps will even call you and help you integrate it. It's fantastic. So download that plugin, and then the next thing you'll need is a type of AI that can run with it. Now, what I mean by this is they don't actually feature any AI inside of the plugin. It's why it's so easy to use, because you can exchange it for anything you want. So you can either create your own AI, which is a bit advanced because you need to learn how to play chess, and then you need to learn how to code all the different aspects of chess, or you can download an AI system to do it for you. If you're into chess at all, you'll recognise the name, but they highly recommend you use Stockfish. It's an AI for chess. So go ahead and download this, and they support like every OS under the sun, honestly. It's so good. But I've downloaded my Linux version because that's what I'm on, but download your Windows one. It'll come as a zip file, and it'll have an exe inside of it or a sh file or something like that. So I've downloaded mine here, and you can see I've got all my files here. Copy all your files or cut them either way. Then go inside your project, and then inside the content folder, put it somewhere you feel comfortable. So for me, I'm going to go into my AI folder. I'm going to right click, new folder, and I'm going to call it Linux Chess AI. And I'm going to open it up. You can call yours Windows AI, anything you want, and paste your files inside there, because that's how we're going to relate to this file in the engine. Once you've done that, make sure you've installed the plugin. So I've stuck mine directly inside the plugins folder. You could do it from the engine as well, but I prefer having my plugins in the project. It means I can back them up when I make changes. Now make sure you come and reboot Unreal, because it doesn't always detect that you've actually put the AI in there. Don't worry that you won't see the files. It's because Unreal doesn't recognise them. That's completely fine. And then I believe it's on the Discord. It might be in the plugin. You'll get access to a really helpful quick start guide, which is something you can read through, but of course I'm going to show you how to do it here. So firstly, just make sure the plugin's installed. So edit plugins, search for your chess. There you go, Chess Game Creator. And then the first thing we need to do is we actually need to go and take the movie files. So it has some built-in movie files that help you introduce the chess game, really. You don't need them, but they are there, so we may as well use them for now. So inside resources, you'll see you've got this movies file. Just extract it and then take well, the entire movies folder, to be honest, back to your content folder and just paste it in. I've already got a movies folder, so it's going to merge it, and I've already placed them there from before. So yeah, add them in. You won't see them in Unreal. That's okay, which is annoying because Unreal tells you to use MP4s, but they won't show you the MP4s. But sure, why not? After you've done that, we now need to go and enable the AI inside your game. So it's super simple. Make sure you've got your plugins enabled. So click the little cog and make sure you've got plugin content and engine content enabled, depending where you put the plugin. And then scroll down to your plugins folder and you'll see one called CGC, so Chess Game Creator version 3. In the blueprints, just search for the AI opponent. And this is just a component that tells the AI how to run. All you need to do is in external settings is just double check this path here matches yours. So for me, if you remember, I put mine in here. So it will be AI Linux Chess. So for me, it'll be content because you're inside the content folder. And it'll be AI Linux Chess AI. And then I need to come and grab the file name of the AI, which I can't see inside. So I'll grab the file name there. Yours will be called something different, but very similar there. So it's inside your content folder and then wherever you put it. On their documentation, they have their own path. It's something like AI process, Windows AI, something like that. But whatever it is, just place it there. Hit compile and save just to make sure it's updated. And then the only other thing we need to do is we need to enable their custom collision trace. And all this is when you click on the chessboard, it fires a trace using their custom collision profile. Super simple. Simply go to Edit, Project Settings. In Collision, under Engine, just make sure in your trace channels you click New Trace Channel, call it CGCUI, capitals, you've got to be specific with it, and set it to ignore. That's all you've got to do. They do recommend that you check it's actually applied it correctly. In my case, I never had to do this, but just to cover all bases, simply press Ctrl or Command P and search for 3D chess pawn. This is the player your pawn you play as. And on the widget interaction, make sure the trace channel is selected correctly. Sometimes, if you're on an old Unreal version, it won't automatically sync up, so you'll have to go and do that as well. And they also recommend that you do Ctrl-Command-P for BP square as well. So if you come and select the widget, they also recommend that you have the trace channel ticked to overlap. So when the collision fires, it creates an overlap event. And that's pretty much it. You're kind of set up at that point. Very basic. It really is very quick to set up. But now, if you come to your Chess Game Creator folder and inside the maps start the main menu, you'll run into one small bug here that I've already reported. Don't worry, I've got you. Just set the game mode to their chess. Otherwise, it'll render your game mode and it'll mess up a little bit. But they're going to fix that. You click it, you've got this basic window here. So we're going to say versus AI. We could do that. Over the board is one where you control both parties. We don't need that in this game. We're doing it via AI. And you've also got full network replication, which is even better. So we'll just go versus AI. There is a small glitch with the UI. It's a bit squashed. It's because, if you remember from a previous tutorial, if you followed that one, I scaled all my UI up to 4K, so all the other plugins are a bit... But that's entirely per project. They're going to fix that as well. So we'll just set it to novice, because I am no chess master. And we'll just click start. You've got a bunch of locations. I've only got one. But if you install the Pro version, you'll have a bunch of very nice custom assets and pieces. But we'll just select this one. You can see the movie is now playing that we installed. Fantastic. There is no sound. Don't worry. But you can see the very nice chessboard. It all looks very professional, very high quality. And there we go, we're in. So I believe I'm the white pieces, so I select it. You can see I've got my little board. I can move 2 pieces up. And then I can also look around by holding it, and look, the piece moves by itself. The AI is working. If your AI doesn't work, just make sure that you've given it permissions to actually execute. If not, comment below or visit the Discord. They're very helpful people. And let's see, I am no chess master, and we're not going to spend the entire video doing this. Oh, look, it's moving towards me. I'll go here. Is it going to annihilate me? Nope. Haha, it ran away. I'll go there. It's took my piece. There you go. Yeah. So that's the chess game system. There we go. You've also got another map called Indoor Scene we can come and open up. And now we can start looking at the plugin because there's the integration. It's done. But how do you make it work in your game? Because that's the key part. And this is where we start to have a lot of fun with it. So one of the key things you need to know is you have this chess game board here. The way they've written the plugin, which I actually think is insanely cool, is they haven't just written it to follow the rules of chess. They've written the plugin so it follows the rules of chess, but you can change it. There's entire properties and things I've not even found yet on components where you come and just outright change the rules of the game. It's fantastic. I was talking to the developer, showing him the old Mortal Kombat chess, where you had your chess pieces, you ran up, and it started a fight. His instant response was, you could probably make that. How cool's that? But yes, so you've got a bunch of different plugins here, components, and everything, specifying every single thing you can think you want to change. For example, piece movement style here is set to instant, so you saw them just go, whoop. If we change it to slide, and yes, you did see animated down there as well, you can add skeletal meshes to it and make them run across the board, which is something we're going to do shortly. But also, just to prevent the intro movie, because we're testing things, just go to the level blueprint. In here, look, activate a bunch of stuff, but they've got this play cinematics boolean here. I don't quite know why, but just I don't quite know how you deactivate it, but just untick it and then click compile. It means it won't play the intro scene anymore. It'll just jump straight in. Look. But now if I move this pawn, it will slide across. How cool is that? That is proper cool. And you've got all sorts of settings with it. So let's jump into it then. Of course, every single game is going to be different. So I can't give you one integration that's going to work for every single one of you. Because it's different, it just is with your game. If you're using narrative interaction and narrative tales, you will be able to follow my interaction. But I will try to keep it as generic as I can, so even if you're not using them, you've got the best chance of doing it. I've set this little demo map up that I was playing with, called Chess Minigame. It's got this knight here, who's trying to do the Naruto run while stood still, but his retargeting hasn't worked great. But I've got a little board in front of him, like a table. There we go. So if I come and talk to him, that's my interaction part, and talking will be the tails. You'll see he'll say, hi there. And I'll say, what is this? Because he's referencing the board. He'll say, this is a game I found overseas called Chadagra or something. It's going too fast for me to speak. Chadagra. Apparently, don't attack me if I'm wrong here, but from what I briefly read on Wikipedia, chess was invented in India, and they called it Chagada or something like that. I can't pronounce it, apologies. But I figured with my game being passed, it would be quite cool. So I've called it that. Then the guy says, is it hard to play? And he says, no, not really. It's easy to pick up, which chess is easy to pick up, but it's hard to master, which it is. And it's like, do you want to try it? And I was like, yeah, let's try it. And then as a bonus, I say, great, do you want to be the light or dark side? Which, for the pieces, yeah, you just pick white or black, fine. But when we add custom models to it, we're going to have the brand new Sinti Dark Fortress models versus the Sinti Elvish models. And it's going to look so cool. But I'll just say, I'll pick the light side, and then it'll play. At the moment, it does nothing, because I haven't got the chess plugin in there. But we're going to add the chessboard here, and we're going to make it play the chess game. So the first thing I'm going to do is we'll do a super basic integration. I'm going to come back to the CGC map and the indoor scene. And I'm just going to come and take a straight copy of this here. So I'll just copy it. You don't need anything else in the scene but that unless you want it. For me, I'm just taking that straight away. I'll come back to my demo map and I'm just going to paste it straight in. I'm going to move it into an appropriate location. Actually, I do kind of prefer having it sideways like that. I just place it about there, look. So now we've got it there. We won't be able to play or interact with it yet because there's some more controls we have to do. So the easiest way to find how to integrate it is literally jumping back to the main one and going into it. They don't cover integration super well because, like I said, it's entirely dependent on your game. Because if you're installing this as a main thing, you just put all the code on your player character or your controller. For us people doing it as mini games, really scopes the difficulty. But the key thing is, you need to, on your level blueprint, or wherever you put it, this is where they've put it, you need to make sure that the cursor is visible and input is enabled, and the widget interaction is set to activated. Don't worry about that for now. We're going to cover this properly in a moment, but that's the basic gist of it. And then the other thing you need is, in the 3D chess pawn they provide, which you can find in world settings, you need to have a couple of things on here. But for like the left button controller here, you need some type of input to actually tell the piece to work. So the widget interaction handles hovering over each square. This left click button handles the clicking event. So do you click on a piece, do you click on a board, whatever you do. That's really the only two pieces of code you need. We're of course going to wrap this in a little bit more to make it interactable in the game. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I don't want any of this fading or anything like that, I just want a super basic pawn. I'm going to come back to my own personal map where I'm integrating it to, and later we'll add this to the main game as well. I'm going to come into my blueprints folder and I'll just go into controllers for now. I'll right click and create a new blueprint class, a type of pawn, and I'm going to call it BP Chess Player. So what we're going to do is we'll have our character walking around. When we tell it we're playing chess, we're going to spawn our character in pretty much where he needs to be, and that'll handle the controls when we possess him. When we change possessions of our pawn, if you've got anything running on a tick or something, you may get some errors. It's pretty much a good standard to allow your character to be repossessable. So if you do get any errors, just fix them. Stick a couple of is valids in, or on unpossession of that, disable what needs to not run anymore. But on this chess player, it's super simple. We're just going to copy the widget interaction and the blue BP chess player component, and we'll just come and paste it on here. There is a reason we're not using this, because we don't want everything this does, and it means we can make changes to this one without it affecting the plugin, so we can keep it updated. Then I am actually going to come and take this entire left mouse functionality, because we need it, and I'm going to paste it on the player here. You'll see it wants a movement component, but I don't actually need that. The way we're integrating it, we don't need the movement components. I'm actually just going to get rid of them all and just connect it straight to pressed like that. Thanks to the comment plugin, it automatically shrinks itself. Now you can see it pretty much just works. So we can hit compile and save. I did mention on the previous one, we had some settings on the game mode we need to apply, and we still do here. When we possess this player here, this pawn, that means we're starting the chess game. So what I'm going to do is add the event possessed, and I'm also going to do unpossessed. So that is when you take over this pawn, when you exit this pawn. One other thing I forgot is there is also some code on the game mode. I was just looking at my notes wondering where it all went. A lot of this code on here is for your network managing. So when you've logged in, when you've logged out, if you need to keep that part, this integration is going to be a bit different for you. All I'm doing is focusing on a single player roughly game to interact with something, a bit like The Witcher or Skyrim, something like that. But the gist of all this code is it basically gets the player who's just signed in, get the save settings, so that's like where you currently were, what pieces you've selected, all that stuff. We're going to mostly not use that for our integration. It will get the chessboards on the game, set their types and such, and set the AI up. It then also does some stuff to spawn in the correct player that you need to sit as, but again, we've already going to take care of that in our own way. And then there's this log out, which basically logs you out, which we don't. But everything I've done so far has not touched any of the C++, and you'll see at the end, or you might have saw at the beginning, we take it quite far. So the gist of everything you need in here is on the game mode, we need the settings save, which contains a bunch of stuff we can maybe save in the middle if we need it. And then back on the game mode, I'm also going to copy this get player transform tag. All this does is tell this script whether or not we are player 1 or player 2, black or white, pretty much. On the event graph, we're now going to come and copy pretty much the entire sequence 0 for all of this up here. So we don't want this bottom part because we're going to take care of that ourselves. So I'll shove that down there for now. But we want everything up here from the branch after then 0 all the way across to get all actors, all the way across to get the AI board. We want all of that. Then we'll go back to our chess player. I'll just paste it off to the side. I said off to the side. And we're going to connect it up right here. So it'll say it wants a host controller. Just right click and do create variable. This is the controller that's handling it. So I'm just going to drag back a bit, get the new controller and test if it's a type of player controller. And this cast is okay because player controllers are always loaded in anyway. And I'm not casting to our specific one, just the generic player controller, the base class. Then you'll see it gets the settings here. We're going to do something here later to choose whether you're black or white. Then it does this loop in here where it comes and finds the game board that is in your scene. However, we're going to modify this because this code will get every single chess game. So if you've got an open world with 4 or 5 games in it, this will trigger them all at once, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do instead is actually delete that off, promote this set to a variable, and I'm going to rename it to active game board, and I'm going to set this to expose on spawn and instance editable like that. And the reason we're going to do that is when we spawn this pawn in is exactly when we're wanting to play chess. So at that point we can say, hey, use this board specifically. So I'm going to drag that up a little bit, and I'm going to drag the active game board in holding control. And then I'm going to hold control on this blue node and just move them all to here like so. Just a quick replacement. And now we can delete that off. Connect it back up. So this will set how long the board should last, which is in our settings. We don't need to worry about that specifically, because we can put that directly on the board later if we need to. It'll set the game type, which I believe is the difficulty. The game type is whether it's using AI or something like that. For mine, I'm actually going to delete this off and just come and straight set it to AI. That's it, because that's all I want mine to be. If you want the option, keep the option. It depends on your game. If you want it network-based, again, change it to what you need. I just want it to be AI. I'm going for The Witcher, Skyrim, something like that. After that, it comes in and checks, is the game mode versus AI? Well, yes, I've hard-coded it. So I can delete that off and just straight say, right, set the AI up. And all this does is come in and say, is the first turn the player or not? So if the host army index, so the person who's hosting it, is their army selection 0 or 1, white or black, pretty much. If it's 0, the AI goes second, so 1. If it's 1, then the AI goes first, pretty much. And then it sets their difficulty here, which you can put on the game board if you want. I'm just going to keep it there for now, as I believe the default is set to something like easy or something, which is exactly what I need because I'm not great at chess. But you can totally base that on the player's level or how far through the game they are, or specific boards. But I've got a feeling if you put Grandmaster-based chess AI into your game, when the big chess masters, I don't believe, can beat the master AI, you may struggle a little bit. But yeah, so that is, if we clean it up, pretty much a clean integration. We do technically need to log it out as well. So what I'm going to do for this is when it's unpossessed, we basically need to give control back to the player. So if you're doing a multiplayer game, you need to log them out here using the logout code from here. That one. Again, I'm not doing that. Let's put that back because that's going to drive me insane later. I'm not doing that, so I don't need to worry about that. All I'm going to do is if they're unpossessed, I'm just going to straight destroy the pawn, really, because I don't really need anything else. So we'll hit compile and save. We can't actually just drop our chess player straight in because we have to set these settings up here. But that is going to be the basic process now. Now that we have our chess player, we need to 1, find somewhere we want to spawn it, 2, spawn the player in, passing the correct parameters we need, and then 3, taking over it. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to come and add a camera here. So we'll just click plus, and I'll probably just do a cinematography camera, to be honest. I have been playing with the black eye camera system, but I'm not confident on adding that into a tutorial just yet. So I'll probably just come and possess this. So right click pilot, and we'll place it so it faces the chessboard in the place where we feel good. I think something like that looks good. We'll come and set the focus distance, and we'll just click the chessboard. Now it's all crystal clear. Press G, that's what it'll look like. I'm okay with that. You cinemaphiles will probably be able to make this look fantastic. If you do, let me know your camera settings, please. But yeah, so we have a camera there, look, and that's fine. So I'm going to come and add a tag to both of these actors. So I'll click plus, and I'll call it, well, the name of what they both are, so we can easily find them and they're linked together somewhat. So I'll probably call it Chess Playing Knight. So what we can do is when we want to find the board that we want to use, we search for the classical game board with the tag Chess Playing Knight. When we want to find the camera that was linked to it, it just makes it a bit easier. So let's start our actual interaction then. So for me, on my guy, I've added a dialogue system to him. If you're following my tutorials, this is my NPC asset. You probably have one if you're following my tutorials. And then I have some dialogue here using narrative tales. You absolutely don't need to do this via narrative tales, but I'll tell you the part you need to copy for your game. So I've got all these changes down here. It says blah, 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 what do you want to do? So for me, at the moment, because we haven't coded in the light or dark side, we're just going to code in the light side for now to do it. So I'll double click this, and I'll say after he's finished saying light, now this is the code you add in to actually interact with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is spawn in an actor, which is going to be our BP chess player. And you'll see it wants the active game board here that we need to play with, which is fine. The spawn transform, just going to basically spawn it next to the player, essentially. So I'll get player pawn, because the player pawn's always going to be in the right place. Get actor location, and I'll plug that into the location. Collision handling, I'll just say try to adjust location, but always spawn. So when they spawn on top of each other, it'll split them out a little bit. And then we need to get the game board that we're referring to. I'm going to split this off a little bit across here. And I'm going to drag off the false and do get all actors of class with tag. And we want our game board, so this one here. So we want our classical game board, BP classical chess game board. We want the tag we've assigned to it, which is Chess Playing Knight. And then I'm going to get the first value from it. And we could technically wrap this as an it is valid in case we've broken something. And plug that in. And then from the get, just pass it to the active game board. So we know which chessboard we're about to start. For these not valid, I'll just add a print string of failed to spawn, pretty much. And we can improve that later. Now, this is where we run into a bit of an issue, which is specific to narrative tales. See, I'm using the camera system here, right? But narrative tales, in order to give control back to the pawn, stores the pawn that started the dialogue. So in this case, it will store my sandbox character here. But we need to possess to a different pawn, which means when the dialogue finishes, directly after it's done this, it will just kick us back to the other character, which isn't great. So what I'm going to do instead is on my BP chess player, I'm going to come and add a new event called Fade Possess. And what it's basically going to do is get the player camera manager, and then we're going to do start fade. Start camera fade. We're going to fade it from 0 to 1, so from transparent to black, for a duration of 1 second. I'm going to tell it should hold when finished, and then straight after, I'm going to set a timer by event of 1 second. I'm going to make sure it's not looping, and I'm going to add another custom event under it called Ready to Possess. When we call this, it will fade the screen to black. It will wait for 1 second for it to actually fade, and then now we can possess it. So if we get the player controller, from the player controller, drag up and do possess, and you'll see we've got possess and unpossess. So we'll just hit possess, and it'll say, what pawn do you want to possess? Well, ourselves, really. Like so. And now we can get the camera fade again, place it afterwards, but instead of start camera fade, instead of 0 to 1, we'll go from 1 to 0. We're doing half the time, and it should hold it at the end. So now, when we spawn the actor in on our dialogue or wherever you're doing it from, just drag off and do the fade possess code. That should stop fading the screen to black for 1 second. Then, on your chess player, after a second, it will take over it in the correct position. The only other thing we need to do before we fade the camera back in, make some space, we need to go and get the camera and tell it to actually use that. So, back after the possess, we'll drag off and do all actors of class with tag. The tag is going to be our chess playing knight, but we're now going to use the cinematography camera. Drag off and do get. Again, we can add the is valid for security. Then if it's valid, we're going to get the current player controller, paste it afterwards, and we will do set view target with blend. So this is how we change cameras over temporarily. Permanently, really, but it works temporarily too. And then the new view target is going to be our cinematography camera. We could set a blend if we want to, but we don't really need a blend because we're currently in pitch black, because that's what we've done. And then we can tell it to start fading the camera. So let's give this a go now and see how well it works. Don't think I've missed anything, but you never know. So we'll talk to the knight, he'll say, hey, blah, blah, blah. Yes, let's try it. Do you want to be the light or dark side? We've only coded it on light at the moment. So you'll see it fades to black, and then there we are. We are in the game. You'll notice I don't have control of my mouse, so I have missed one thing. But you'll notice if I press Shift F to break out, the hovering of everything works. So I can select a piece, and I can say move it there, and it moves across. And then that piece moves. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Almost integrated. But I am not stopping here. We've got some more bits to do to make it really, really cool. So, firstly, let's enable our controls again. So just before we start the camera fade, let's get the player controller, and we will simply do set show mouse cursor, and we'll just come and tick it. And you'll notice we can now have our mouse and we can play chess. There you go. It's all moving across. There is some minor things we need to change. So, example, we don't really want our HUD staying here while we're in the middle of our expert chess game, where I totally don't know what I'm doing. It's just took my piece. But we can keep improving it. So we've got some areas that the HUD doesn't exist either. So let's hide our HUD. Depending on your game and how you store your HUD, I'm just going to come to the chess player. On possessed, right at the end, I'm just going to get the host controller, which is the controller that started it. I'm going to get the HUD, player HUD, which is an interface I've set up in a past tutorial. Basically get your HUD. And I'm just going to set visibility to collapse, so it's invisible. I'll then also take all of that on unpossessed before I destroy it. I'll place this afterwards, and then just set it back to visible again. We compile and save, try it now. Now, when we spawn the chess player in and take over it, it will pretty much just hide our HUD. So it takes over. There you go. And now you can see I can successfully move the pawns across like so. How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, I've got to take over him. Ha ha, got a piece. And he jumped over there. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. There is basically a mini game. We can run up, we can play chess. But let's take it even further, because we have the integration. It's perfect. But one key thing we've got about this is on the details, you have a lot of options. An absolute metric ton of options. It's really good. But one key thing is we have this pieces data table. If we open this up, it's got a list of all the different pieces and their models and everything like that. What we can do is replace every single piece for the light and dark side with our custom meshes or custom skeletal meshes. So let's really go to town with this one. I have already found one minor flaw with this, which is something I've suggested to developers and they're considering it. At the moment, you have to have a data table for both pieces, so dark and light. But if you want the option to pick, I want to be this and the other person picks like this, almost like a Tekken game, a Mortal Kombat game, you pick which pieces you want, a single data table is going to make that very, very complicated. Whereas if you exchange it for two data tables, dark side and light side, then the players can choose the pawns they want or the pieces. You could even take it one step further if you want it to be completely customizable and have an array what you can modify on the fly to say this is the light pawn, this is the light bishop. Then the players can customize their pieces too. We're not going to go that complex because we don't need that. But what I am going to do is come to this data table here, this DT generic pieces, and I'm going to scroll up to my data tables folder inside blueprints, and I'm going to make a copy of this data table inside here. I'll probably create a new folder inside here called chess tables, and I'll move it inside there. And we're going to rename this from DT generic pieces to DT necromancers versus elvish. Yeah, because that's what I've got on mine. Call it whatever you want. And then, for each of these pieces down here, we can go and replace it with a specific one. So we don't need the dark pawn here, so I'm going to hide that one. But for the dark pawn, the skeletal mesh I want, I'm going to come and select my Undead 02, which is this fantastic model from Sinti's latest Dark Fortress pack, which we will be taking a look at in a video upcoming soon. And then, in this animation map, something I have suggested is to turn this to an enum, but there's a bunch of set tags you can use that are triggered in the game here. The set tags that I've found are idle, which is when the character stood doing nothing, death, which is when the character's piece is taken over, move, which is when the character's moving, funnily enough, attack, which is the opposing piece or you taking over somebody. The final one is damaged, which is called right before death. If you want a little scuffle fight and then they die, that's what damaged is for, but I'm not going to do that one. So everybody starts at idle. When you move, it calls move. When you call attack, it will play the attack animation. If you call damaged, that's when somebody has just landed on your piece, and death is when your piece is expelled. So I have a bunch of animations for this that I've set up in a different ways. I've got all these animations from Mixamo, but basically I've got breathing idle here, which is just a character set breathing. That's all they do. I've also got a death one where they fall down to the part like that. And I've also added a notifier for sound. So if you simply right click notify and search for play sound, you can add sounds into it. And I've added one of me gargling like a skeleton. You know. You do have to create animations for every single piece, but if you're going to the extent of adding a custom skeletal mesh, chances are you want them to move, attack, play different sounds. So that's fine. So you'll see what I've done is in my animations folder, I've got my chess here. I've got a part for every single in my pawn. So in my pawn here, if I go to the chess, you can see I've got some custom animations specifically for this person. Now I'm going to go through and basically do this for each one of my characters. This took a while. It took a couple of hours to get to this stage. It really did. But all I've done for cheating this is I've basically got 4 animations that I like, or 5 if you want the damage. I've created a chess folder and duplicated all the animations into each one. My queen is fantastic, and I've even done the same for my fantasy one here. So I've gone through and done this for all the pieces that I want, and I got a lot of laughs from my partner when she heard me recording this, but for my king, when he swipes, he does cool stuff like this.
I am the king.
I am the king.
I am the king.
Because I had no idea what to say for when a king swipes at you. But I've gone through and I've done this for each character. So in order to not bore you with me doing this, I have gone and copied the one I spent ages doing because I didn't want to spend hours doing it again. For pretty much every single one, I've gone down and assigned custom animations and custom models for every single one because we want it to look cool. Every single one's got sound as well. So now we have this custom data table. Back to your chessboard, assign it at the top here. So you'll search for your DT, mine's called Necromancer versus Elvish. The other change you need to make is set the piece movement style to animate, otherwise it's not going to run across the board. And then the final piece is if you scroll down, you will see piece actor class BP piece is not animated, it's standard. You need to use the BP SK piece. Built in, that's the only way you're going to get the skeletal meshes to work. But now, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I have a board full of my Cinti models. How cool is that? A few glitchy ones back there from where I've moved things around. I need to sort those. But for the most part, it's all... There we go. I've gone through and fixed the skeletal issues. It's going to look really cool when it's up and running. Same this side. We have all the different ones. There isn't yet any way to create attachments for each of these characters in the data table. It looks easy enough to modify if you really need that. But if we try it now, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the chessboard is there. Let's start the conversation. And we'll pick the light side. And you'll see it plays Look at Them All animated. Of course, if you do this with metahumans, you are going to want to tune them bad boys down. Otherwise, you're going to run into an issue. But let's select the pawn and tell him to move 2 spaces. And he runs, and he lands, and he runs 2. Let's move one guy over here. Is he going to take us? Nope. So we can come and take him. You will see. We run up. We hit him. Bang. He dies. How cool is that? You do need to play with the timing to make it just that little bit better. But we have a fully animated game. Imagine the games like Star Wars or Futurama where they're playing the 3D chess or the moving chess. I think it was in Guardians of the Galaxy as well. You can do stuff like this. And why am I doing really well with this pawn? There we go. And my guy died. There we go. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? There is some optimization techniques you may want to apply outside of the plugin where these characters are basically nuked so they don't take up loads of performance when you're playing it. Because as you can see at the moment, they're all idling. So I've pretty much got like 26 characters all in the game extra. So you're going to want to do a minor performance change with that. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have now integrated chess into our game via dialogue, starting with custom themed pieces. How cool is that? And it didn't even take that long compared to writing all of this yourself from scratch. That's how cool it is. So let's actually add this into our game then. I'm going to take the chessboard, the table and the knight, and I'm going to copy it and the camera, because that's important. And I'm going to jump back into my main game. I'm going to come over to my castle area. I'm going to find somewhere where I think this guy will be advertising to play chess. Probably here, that's a nice place, isn't it? And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I've added it into my game world to come and play chess. So we're almost ready for the big final result reveal. But I did say we need to be able to pick the light side and the dark side. So the easiest way I found to do this is actually on our chess player, add in a new variable called host player index and set it to a type of integer. I'm going to expose it on spawn and make it instance editable and save. So back on our chess player, where we get the save object, we're just going to inject our own host army index. So we'll connect that up and connect this one across just before it sets it in the variable, and we'll inject our own custom player index like that. So back on our dialogue here, we have access to our host army index here, where we spawn the player in. I'm going to come and take all of this code here, promote it to a function called spawn chess player. And then I'm going to go into it and I'm going to expose host player index to the beginning of the function, just like that. I'll then unconnect it using Alt or disconnect it, drag down and do get host player index like so, just so it's neater. And now this means on the light side, we just pass 0. If I come and double click the dark side, I can paste the exact same code in, but pass number 1 in instead. Hit compile and save. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple to change your character for our integration. And I did try to get some voices for it, but the 11 Labs API has become really weird, and I swear it's a bug, because it keeps saying, you're on a VPN. No, I've turned my VPN off, and it just keeps saying, you're on a VPN. So I ain't got any fancy voices, unfortunately. I could voice it all myself, but I didn't. So I'm looking at alternative voice creation tools at the moment. I could also pay for it, but the voices there aren't amazing anyway at the moment. But if I come and start the dark side this time, ladies and gentlemen, you will see the AI will go first and we will go second. Ha! I can take your piece. You sunk my battleship. Ha ha ha! And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see the final result. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. There is our custom chess game piece. Easily integrated into the game to add a new minigame into your game just to make it really cool. Oh, he killed my queen. Oh no. I don't really know how to play chess. But I'm going to learn because it's in my game. That's how cool it is. We can officially say that. It's in our game. We're going to play it. But how cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? Chess, easily added into your game. Big thank you to Chess Game Creator for reaching out. You've made this possible. It's so cool. What minigame should we look at adding next? Thank you for watching. My name is Decryption and I will see you next time.